What is this?
That's my ship.
What?
Let me take it from the top. Hello, I'm the Doctor.
Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new Doctor Who video where today marks exactly 2 years since the Fugitive of the Judoon Doctor Who episode aired, of course introducing us to the Ruth or the Fugitive Doctor, the Doctor played by Jo Martin. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to have a little look back over what we've had of the Chris Chibnall era so far, or the Jodie Whittaker era so far, whichever one you want to refer it to, and discuss whether this moment, the reveal of Ruth being the Doctor, the Jo Martin Doctor, is that the most iconic, the most synonymous, most, incredible moment of the whole Jodie Whittaker era? So yes, as I say, it's exactly 2 years since we had that incredible moment, frankly. I still remember it very well. I was in my uni halls watching it that Sunday evening, and obviously that episode at the time had been built up pretty massively. They'd said, do you do not want to miss this one? There's huge things going on in it. It's going to be incredible. You've got to be there. Then we saw Captain Jack and we were like, oh, okay, well, that's clearly the big thing that's going on in this episode. That's pretty major. We hadn't seen him for 10 years or something. So that's exciting. And it's Judoon. Of course, we knew about that, but it's still cool. It's the Judoon. It's great fun. And then obviously we get halfway through this episode and they give us a new Doctor. Suddenly she turns up and she is the Doctor, and I really do think it is one of the great moments in Doctor Who. It's always a moment I'm going to certainly remember. I mean, if we look back at other significant moments of the Chris Chibnall era, I mean, I don't know how many there are. There's probably not a lot from his first series. I guess the scene at the end of Rosa, when Rosa gets up on the bus, I guess that's also stays sat down on the bus, of course, is a pretty significant moment. Maybe it's not iconic massively, but it's certainly a significant moment in what is a great episode of Doctor Who, I personally think. And then, you've got other great moments like the Master reveal at the end of Spyfall Part 1. You've got, obviously, all of the stuff in The Timeless Children. That's pretty significant stuff as well from that point of view. And then, various moments in Doctor Who Flux as well, to an extent, could be considered pretty, iconic. And you never know, maybe in Jodie's last episode, the Centenary Special, or I guess Legend of the Sea Devils, there could be a moment to rival the excitement and the significance of the Jo Martin reveal, but I think it's unlikely personally. It just really felt like an example in Fugitive of the Judoon of some of the best stuff that Chris Chibnall did. Obviously this was a co-written episode between Vinay Patel and Chris Chibnall, and I know this idea that they had of introducing a new Doctor, they had it for a while. It was certainly in the works for a long time. And just the way they kind of approach this episode, also from a promotional point of view, is really, fascinating and really clever, because obviously they went and filmed it in Gloucester, and it was out on location and everybody's going to see Judoon, so they were like, yeah, let's announce the Judoon. It's about the only thing we knew about Series 12 for about 10 months was, oh, there's Judoon in an episode of it, which obviously was exciting and it's cool, and you're like, great, and then there's shots of them on location and whatever, but actually they're kind of aside to the episode. Sure, they kind of function part of the plot, but their only function is to try and find the fugitive, which turns out to be the Doctor, and not a lot else. And it's the way they kind of covered that up almost by saying, let's announce the Judoon, and then you'll kind of forget about that there might be something else going on with this episode. And then obviously, as I said, they really built it up heading into the episode itself in the promotion and the likes. And then we got Captain Jack, which was great to see. That was reasonably unexpected. I know the last couple of days before it had been a little bit leaked and rumoured, and he'd retweeted a Doctor Who tweet or something, which kind of gave away the game. Come on, John, do better. And then obviously we also had this character of Ruth introduced. Now, I had seen the Gallifrey-based rumours that there was going to be pre-Hartnell Doctors and all of this that had leaked about 6 months before the series started, I think, or maybe 3 months. It wasn't, I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was certainly late in 2019. Obviously, this series began at the beginning of 2020. And so, I kind of had in the back of my mind the sort of ideas, the possibilities. But watching this episode, it wasn't like I'm sat there thinking, she's going to be the Doctor, she's going to be the Doctor. It's obvious. It was never obvious, even if you kind of had a feeling they might go that way based on the rumours. And it was just so effectively kind of built up through the episode, Obviously, initially, you're painting Lee as the slightly more suspicious figure, the one who almost is more likely to be, I guess, somebody else who, not Lee Clayton as he appears to be, and then introducing Commander Gat, and there's so much intrigue and confusion as to exactly really what this episode is all about and where it's all really going. And then, I think once we get the Doctor and Ruth in the car driving towards the lighthouse, it just feels like the start of as I say, for me, to answer the title of this video, in the middle of it, it is the most iconic scene of the Jodie Whittaker era so far. It could be topped, but I think it's unlikely to happen because, the way it's just crafted there, they turn up at this lighthouse. Obviously, Ruth is a bit confused. There's a lot of sort of memories that are flickering in her head. She thinks this is her sort of childhood home, that she lived in a lighthouse, which is, a bit confusing. And obviously we get some, brooding shots of the Doctor wandering around the top of the lighthouse, being a bit, unsure about exactly. She knows it's something significant. That things aren't quite right, but she's just not quite sure what it is. And then obviously when we get the Doctor, she sort of sees some, I think like a grave or something. There's something down on the grass, which she thinks, oh, I'm going to go and, have a little dig down and figure out what's going on there. And I can't think of a better way that they could have, built up to the reveal and kind of told, basically built up to it for the Doctor, than having the Doctor dig down and discover the top of a TARDIS. Like that's just, I love that moment, that imagery of this buried TARDIS underneath the ground, something that completely unexpected in this random lighthouse, out on the seaside in the middle of nowhere with this random woman, and then suddenly, wait, there's a TARDIS buried underneath the ground next to it. Like, I just thought that was such a perfect way of building to that reveal. And then obviously alongside this, we've got the cutting between what we're seeing the Doctor doing there and what we're seeing Ruth doing, kind of, being triggered by that message, break the glass, follow the light, which obviously is trying to get her to basically open the Chameleon Arch, or it's not a fob watch, but it's the equivalent of a fob watch in this episode. And then she does that. We as fans, we knew exactly what was going on the moment she hit that, and maybe we knew before that point, but certainly when she hit that and we see the golden energy flowing into Jo Martin's character, okay, she's the Time Lord, right? We've got that much. Is she going to be the Doctor? Probably. But I still like just little things that were done in this scene to try and throw you off the scent slightly or whatever. There's a moment, and I remember reading about this, we're in the score for this scene, where Sega Nakanola basically dropped in a little bit of the Masters theme halfway through this scene. It's quite a long piece of music for this, about 5.5 minutes, I think, sort of all in for this scene. And I think just as we're heading towards, I think, her breaking the glass, it might be just after, I can't quite remember, but there's just a few hints and notes of the Masters theme simply thrown in there to try and, if we're really listening and we're a clever audience and we know the Masters theme, just to throw you off the scent, rather than drop in the Doctor's theme at that point, which would just give the game away. You drop the Masters theme in and you're like, oh, okay, maybe it could be the Master, but actually it's just to throw you off the scent, which, I thought was a really, really clever way of doing it. I thought that worked really effectively. And then obviously we get Jo Martin, Ruth's character, dressing up in her Doctor outfit, and then, coming up outside just after the Doctor has discovered the TARDIS, and then, revealing herself, doing the "Hello, I'm the Doctor," the classic line. It felt mind-blowing at the time for me. And, I know we had a, unexpected Doctor back in Name of the Doctor with the War Doctor of John Hurt. So I remember people saying, oh, they've done it before, yeah. And I can see that. And, I'll admit I wasn't, that was a period of time where I wasn't as into the show. So I can't, I didn't have the same feeling. I can't quite frankly remember watching that episode particularly. I think I might have watched it when it aired, but I can't quite remember. Certainly it didn't have the same impact on me that this reveal had in Fugitive of Judoon. It just felt, so much almost confusion as to exactly what this is all about. Are they really going down the pre-Hartnell Doctor route? Is this a future Doctor? And then as the scenes, play out, it becomes apparent that, the Doctor, they don't know each other, which doesn't make any sense to us, and we're like, what the heck's going on? Surely one of them should know the other one from, either way. So, that creates some really interesting dynamics and just a lot of confusion as to exactly how it's going on. But yeah, I just think that whole scene is so perfectly put together. The acting, the direction, the setting they chose to use it for, the music. the writing, everything, it just all comes together in those few minutes. And what is, you know, a really, really important moment to get right, because you're introducing a new Doctor completely unexpectedly. So that's really got to hit. That's got to be done well. It's got to be done in a believable way. It's built for the shock factor, and I just think that really, really lands in this scene so much. You know, there's so many times where we can be critical of Chris Chibnall's writing, of, you know, some of the way that episodes of his run have been put together, and moments that haven't quite hit, and whatever. I'm not, you know, I'm aware there's a lot of flaws with this era, and, you know, there's a lot of things we can criticise, but I really just strongly feel with this scene that it is what, you know, I will always remember from this era of the show. Sure, the Timeless Child storyline is going to be the fundamental thing people remember in the Chris Chibnall era. Like, that's just how it's going to be, because that is what's defined his Doctor Who. That's you know, what he wanted to write Doctor Who, you know, to be. That's what he wanted to focus on, and so that will define it. But I do think that this pure 5 minutes of a scene of the Ruth Doctor reveal, I think, as a pure scene of a Doctor Who episode, it's just incredible. I think it really hits all the markers it has to do so, and does it in such an exciting and effective way. So yes, obviously it set us up for much confusion and theorising. I remember, you know, the fandom kind of slightly broke after that moment, and, you know, there were weeks and weeks of theorising, obviously, until we got to the Timeless Children and, I guess, started to understand a little bit more of what was going on. Sadly, we've only briefly seen the Jo Martin Doctor since then, a little bit in the Timeless Children and a little bit in Once Upon a Time in the middle of Doctor Who Flux. I'm certainly very hopeful that we're going to see more of her in the Centenary special. I wouldn't expect to see her in the Sea Devil story. I don't think that I don't see any reason why it would go down that route. But, you know, I would be pretty optimistic that at some point, you know, during the Centenary special, that she's going to be a part of that, because she's such a, you know, an important character. She's a Doctor, and she's had such little screen time, which is such a shame, because I think she's a wonderful incarnation of the Doctor, and I'd love to see that explored more. And I think it's unlikely that, you know, it's going to be picked up on once we get to Russell's Doctor Who. I just, as great as she is, I don't really see Russell wanting to kind of interfere with that almost, and wanting to delve into that. I mean, you know, if in a theoretical world where Russell's idea of a Doctor Who cinematic universe did come together, then maybe there could be a Ruth Doctor spin-off series or something, which I would love. I think would be amazing. But in reality, what's probably more likely is she's going to end up doing Big Finish Adventures until she's about 75, because, you know, that's the way these things go. But I really at least hope we're going to see lots of her in the Centenary special. But yes, guys, 2 years on to the day, what are your memories of the Ruth Doctor reveal, of the whole of Fugitive of the Judoon? Is it an episode you rate highly? Certainly it's one of my favourites of the whole of the Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker era. I would love to hear, you know, your reminiscences of what it was like at the time, and you know, if your thoughts have changed since then on this scene and this reveal. I'd love to hear what you have to say down in the comments below. But apart from that, that's all for this video, guys. Please hit that like button, that subscribe button if you're new here, and I'll see you again very, very soon for a brand new video. But until then, it's goodbye.